Alright, state your name and spell it.
Reverend Bruce Wright, B-R-U-C-E-W-R-I-G-H-T.
And you're with?
I'm with the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign and the People's Welcoming Committee.
I'm here with Reverend Bruce Wright of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, and I'm discussing things, the up-and-coming Republican National Convention. Bruce, the city of Tampa is the site of the Republican Convention, and the local governments, in concert with state, federal authorities, are already taking steps to clamp down on First Amendment rights leading up to the convention. What is your take on this? How do you envision your role in the upcoming year?
Well, my take on it is they're ramping up efforts because the last thing they want is for real dissent to happen, or at least for it to be visible to the general media and the general public. And so my take on it is they are ramping these efforts up and getting ready to squash dissent, and are actually beginning to do it now because they don't want this to turn into something where the people's voice is heard. They just want it to be a nice, pretty convention. And what I see as my role in this, as one of the organizers with the People's Welcoming Committee, but also organizing at the national level with the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, is we're trying to mobilize working class and poor and unemployed and homeless people to come together to let their voice be heard, as they are some of the most deeply affected by this current economy and economic crisis, and really where this country is heading in general.
It appears that Chicago is the site of the up-and-coming G8 NATO summit, along with Charlotte and Tampa. They are taking unprecedented preemptive action against organized civil actions protected by the Constitution, the likes of which we have not seen before. How has or is this affecting the likes of different groups in Occupy Tampa?
Well, you know, what I'm seeing is, at some level, there is an unfortunate collective fear that's beginning to happen amongst people that if they speak out, they're going to get in trouble, or they're going to get arrested, or they're going to get harassed. And, you know, as has been quoted many times, most famously in the recent movie V for Vendetta, people should not fear their government, the government should fear the people. And so we have to instill in everyone not only courage, but a recognition that all we're doing is standing up for our civil rights, what we're guaranteed by the Constitution, but beyond that, what we're guaranteed as human beings. And the Poor People's Campaign that I'm a part of, we gear our framework from which we speak out on these issues. We base it on the Article 23 through 25 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. So we believe that our human rights are our human rights, and we can't let any group dissuade us from standing up for our human rights, and we need to stand up and speak out. And really, this is nothing new. It is getting tighter, it's getting worse, but we have the numbers. We are on the winning side ultimately.
I've heard the following statements that have been bandied around within the Occupy movement, because their elections are no longer relevant, because it no longer matters who holds office, because they only represent the 1%, because our aims are much higher. We will express our discontent by choosing not to participate in their elections, become the nation's non-voting bloc, withhold all support and contributions of all political candidates, and add your voice to this cause by staying home on election day. What do you think about those messages that are being bandied around?
Well, you know, I've voted for most of my life, but I've come to the conclusion that elections are rigged, no matter how you look at it, to benefit the people in power, to benefit the 1%, to benefit the moneyed interests. They control the elections ultimately, and I think the answer is no longer and never has been voting. Every movement that has resulted in change in this country has not happened because of electoral politics. It's been people's movements, whether it's civil rights, whether it's unionizing, whether it's ending war, whatever it is. Those movements are movements that transcended a political party. So but especially now, I think since big money is so in control of elections, I know that I personally am moving towards abstaining from voting, because I think that if we collectively abstain from voting and say none of the above, that we want something new and different, I think we're going to get further.
What do you know about your city's preparation for the upcoming political convention? Do you think this is affecting civil liberties in general? The location here at Occupy Tampa, specifically, do you think it's going to have an impact on right here, Occupy Tampa? And how are you illuminating the situations plus counteractions?
Well, I think, you know, as far as counteractions, of course, we've got the National Lawyers Guild and other groups involved that are trying to do something. We have numerous lawyers that are trying to take preemptive civil action. And of course, Occupy Tampa continues to do civil disobedience and direct action, as does other groups in the Bay Area. In addition to all that, what we know about their preparations is this: they're putting multiple dozens of cameras everywhere, body scanners they're bringing to the area, they're mobilizing the National Guard, they're getting fire trucks ready for whatever purpose that is, I don't know. They're armored vehicles, helicopters, more than 4,000 cops, as many as 1,800 National Guard. They're creating effectively a police state here. And for us to counteract that, we have to first of all stand up and have courage. We have to look at alternative styles of actions, and we have to look at direct action and civil disobedience.
How do you see Occupy Tampa's General Assembly preparing for spring and the convention later in the summer?
Well, I think the General Assembly is so important now because really it is the de facto form of direct democracy. It is one of the most powerful things that's come out of the Occupy movement. And so I think Occupy Tampa will continue, as many of the people that are residents here will continue to organize collectively as a group, speaking from the General Assembly as to what they're going to represent and their values.
What are your thoughts on Occupy's place in the electoral process? Should it remain outside? Should it try to become an insider? Should Occupy use multiple strategies depending on preference of those involved? Or should Occupy dictate to participants whether they vote or not?
Well, first of all, there should never be any dictating. It's up to the individual conscience. I would never tell people to do what I'm choosing to do. I would say that I believe that it's ineffective now to vote, and I would encourage people to look at other options. I don't think the answer is to become an insider and become an apparatus in the Democratic Party, for instance, like the Tea Party has with the Republicans. I think our best voice is to be on the outside as a prophetic voice speaking to the inside.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, just that I would encourage everyone to get involved in both the conventions and letting their voice be heard, as well as the GA in Chicago, and recognize that it's what's going to change this country is people's movements from the bottom up, grassroots democracy.